To oxygen absorb or not to oxygen absorb, that is the question. Had a lot of questions about, do you use oxygen absorbers? Do you need oxygen absorbers? Well, what a great question. So I did a deep dive into what oxygen absorbers actually are and if they're needed or not in certain situations. I thought it might have something to do with long-term storage versus short-term storage, or maybe jars versus Mylar, but it actually doesn't have anything to do with that at all. What I'm doing today is I'm repackaging a bunch of stuff that I had purchased and that needed to be repackaged for better storage, such as peppercorns. I don't like storing things in plastic. Pasta, it was stored in, not an airtight container, just those little bags that they come in. Cornstarch, this lasts forever, so I want to store it in something better than this because it get destroyed or something could get in it. And dry milk, non-fat dry milk, really important stuff to have in your storage, but definitely something that you need to make sure that you're storing appropriately. So oxygen absorbers are not moisture packets. That's two different things. Moisture packets have like silica in it and it like soaks up the moisture, and then you have to toss those things out fairly quickly. But oxygen absorbers come in these completely sealed packets because once they're exposed to oxygen, then what's inside of them is iron, and the iron will rust. And that's what the whole point is. So if you put it in a sealed container, whether it's a jar or a Mylar bag, you don't put it into that container until the very last minute, rip it open, toss it in there, squeeze all the air out, seal it, because what happens is whatever oxygen is in that environment reacts with the iron, makes it rust, and basically takes out all the oxygen as long as you have enough of the oxygen absorbers inside the container. Now, do you need a nitrogen-rich or non-oxygen environment in what you've sealed up? Well, not necessarily, and that's where you kind of got to know what it is that you're canning or sealing, packaging, whatever, before you start tossing in. And I learned this from a lot of you guys are like, hey, you don't need that in there. Okay, well, let's figure out what we do need. So first, peppercorns do not need an oxygen absorption no matter how much space is left over in here, because peppercorns don't react to oxygen. So no problem. However, you want to put it in a sealed environment. I'm going to go ahead and seal this with my my ball can sealer. It's a vacuum sealer. I'm going to go ahead and vacuum seal this up because you want it to be in an environment where moisture can't get to it, because you don't want moisture to get to it. You don't need a moisture pack. It's all dried, but you just want to keep it safe from moisture. Peppercorns can actually generally last up to 2 to 3 years before they start, if you have them in a sealed container like this, before they start losing their taste. Not all spices are like that, but peppercorns are pretty good when it comes to that. Pasta. There's lots of air in here. So my concern is there's, it could be a real oxygen-rich environment. Even if I vacuum sealed it, we're going to still leave some oxygen in there because you're not getting all the air out because of so much space that's left over. So you can seal it, but there's still air in there. So do we need an oxygen absorber or not? Actually, no, you don't. You do need to seal it up. It doesn't matter if light gets to it. But you can't get moisture to it. You don't want you know what happens when you get moisture on the pasta. So don't want moisture in on the pasta, so you have to seal it up good and tight. But this isn't one of the situations where oxygen will turn the pasta bad. If you had egg noodles, oxygen will actually make them have like a little gray stripe down the middle or whatever. But this just regular pasta like this, it does not react negatively to oxygen, so you do not need an oxygen absorber. Cornstarch. No, you do not need an oxygen absorber for cornstarch, and you don't even need to keep it out of the light like you do milk. So this can go into jars, or it can go into Mylar. I'm going to put it into jars because jars are cheaper than Mylar for me right now. So I'm going to go ahead and stick this in however many jars I can get it in, label it so that I don't think that it's, you know, something that it's not. But it stores forever, seal it up, no oxygen absorber necessary because it doesn't react to that. Yes, you do need oxygen absorbers with your non-fat dry milk. As a matter of fact, we're going to put it in Mylar bags because you need to keep it out of the light as well. So non-fat dry milk is going to go into my Mylar bags, and I'm going to have oxygen absorbers in there, squeeze out all of the air that I can, because it will go bad with an oxygen-rich environment. I hope this helped when it came to whether you use oxygen absorbers or not. I actually have a video, I think it was my 4th video, if you go to my video lineup, that has a nice worksheet at the end of the video that actually shows how many or what size oxygen absorbers you need for the container and type of food that you're using. So go check that out. Make sure you also follow me because I'm trying to get into these situations where I can do the research for the questions that I'm coming up with so that you don't have to do the deep dive yourself.